Welcome to the Sacred Shit Show, the podcast for women who are done performing wellness and ready for the real conversation. I'm Hannah Strange, holistic practitioner, best-selling author, and the woman who will always tell you what nobody else in the wellness space wants to say out loud. This is season 5, Capacity, the woman who can hold it all. And today's episode is You Don't Trust Yourself, and here's why. I want to ask you something today, and I want you to answer it honestly. Not out loud, just inside yourself. When was the last time that you made a decision and felt completely at peace with it? Not just went ahead with it, not just survived it, but genuinely, fully trusted yourself inside it. For a lot of women, that question lands somewhere really uncomfortable. Because the truth is that self-trust, real self-trust, the kind that doesn't need 10 people's opinions or 3 days of overthinking or obsessive research before you can commit, is something that quietly disappears when your nervous system has been living in survival mode for long enough. But the thing is, self-trust is not a mindset issue. It is not something you build by deciding to believe in yourself more. It is not something that comes from affirmations, vision boards, or choosing to act despite the fear. Self-trust is a nervous system issue. And until your body feels safe enough to hear your own signal clearly, until the noise of survival, hypervigilance, anxiety, and dysregulation quiets enough for your own voice to come through, no amount of confidence work will give you what you're looking for. In this week's podcast episode, we're going to talk about why that signal goes fuzzy, what's actually happening, and when you can't tell the difference between your intuition and your fear, and what it takes to begin hearing again. There was a period of my life where I genuinely did not trust myself. The hardest part of that was I didn't even realize it at first. From the outside, I probably looked decisive. I was running businesses, raising children, surviving hard things, making things happen. But internally, I was second-guessing everything. Every decision felt loaded. Every gut feeling got interrogated before I was allowed to act on it. And every choice carried the weight of what if I'm wrong. I had spent so much of my life in chaos, trauma, criticism, instability, and survival that somewhere along the way, I had to stop believing my inner voice was safe to follow. Because following it hadn't always kept me safe. Because the environments I had grown up in hadn't rewarded trust. They had punished it. And then came the years of trauma, unhealthy relationships, financial instability, grief, and the constant having to make impossible decisions under enormous pressure. And my nervous system responded the only way it knew how. It went hypervigilant. Every decision felt like life or death. Every gut feeling got cross-examined. And because my nervous system was so dysregulated, anxiety got so incredibly loud. I couldn't tell the difference between intuition and fear anymore. And was this a red flag? Or was I traumatized and projecting? Was this my body saying no? Or was I self-sabotaging again? Was this excitement? Or was it just panic wearing a different face? I remember feeling completely paralyzed by decisions I should have been able to trust myself to make. Going around and around in loops, asking 10 people for advice, researching obsessively, overthinking until I was exhausted, and still not feeling safe in my own answer. From the inside, it felt like static, like the signal of me had gone fuzzy, like I was completely disconnected from something I used to know instinctively. And here is what I eventually managed to understand. That my intuition had never actually left. It was never broken, and it wasn't gone. It was just buried underneath survival, hypervigilant, years of fear and nervous system overload that had turned the volume of everything else up so high that my own voice had become impossible to hear underneath it. The shift came when I stopped trying to build confidence and started building safety. When I stopped asking, how do I trust myself more? And I started asking, what does my nervous system need to feel safe enough to let me hear myself clearly? Because self-trust isn't confidence. It's nervous system safety. And when your body finally stops bracing for danger all of the time, your own voice becomes easier to hear again. Not because anything has changed externally, but because the static has quietened enough for the signal to come through. Now for a quick message from our fairy mascot, Herbal Moonbeam from The Strange Apothecary.
Dear listener, it's me, Herbal Moonbeam, guardian of the green, listener to the wisdom that lives in bodies, and your gentle guide here at The Strange Apothecary. While our host steps away to tend her tea, let me settle beside you for a moment. Have you felt it lately? That deep, steady fatigue that rest alone doesn't touch. The sense that your body has slowed the pace, not because you failed, but because it needed safety more than speed. When the body hits the brakes, it isn't rebellion, it's intelligence. And that low hum inside you, the one whispering there must be another way to live, isn't dissatisfaction, it's memory. This is where the Sacred Portal opens. The Sacred Portal is a 6-month group-held multidimensional healing journey for those who are done trying to heal in isolation and done being told they should already be over it. Together, over 6 months, we move slowly and deliberately through the 5 layers that shape your lived experience: body, mind, energy, soul, and spirit. Not to ascend out of life, but to finally feel safe inside it. Inside the portal, there is no fixing, no pressure to perform healing the right way, no bypassing the body in favour of insight. Instead, we work with somatic rituals that teach your nervous system it no longer has to stay on guard, subconscious patterning that softens survival without ripping it away, energy work that clears what never belonged to you, and soul remembrance that doesn't hype you up, it settles you back into. This container is held as one group, one path, one shared rhythm, because healing doesn't happen through hierarchy, it happens through safety, witnessing, and regulation in relationship. The Sacred Portal isn't for those chasing a better version of themselves, it's for those ready to stop leaving themselves behind. The portal is now open for enrolment. One path, one group, 6 months of being held in a way most systems never taught you was possible. And because we honour the land that carries us, every enrolment plants a tree, rooting your healing into something living. And so if your body feels quieter as you listen, if something in you has softened instead of tensed, that's not coincidence. You already recognise this pace. Visit thesacredportal.co.uk or follow the link waiting for you in the show notes. The Sacred Portal. You were never broken, your system was protecting you. Now then, sweet soul, my wings are beginning to shimmer, which means it's time to drift gently back into your journey.
Thank you, Herbal, and we really do hope to see lots of you joining us in the Sacred Portal this September when the doors open again. So let's talk about what's actually happening when you are in a self-trust disappearance, right? Because the physiology of this is something that I find genuinely fascinating, and I think once you understand it, the whole thing stops feeling like personal failing and starts feeling like an entire logical response to what you have lived through. Your nervous system and your intuition are not separate things. they are deeply, intimately connected. Your intuition, that quiet inner knowing that felt the sense in your body that something is right or something is wrong, that is largely processed through your interoceptive system, your ability to feel what is happening inside your own body. But this is what chronic dysregulation does to that system. When your nervous system is in a permanent state of threat response, when it has been in survival mode for months or years, your body's internal signaling gets overridden by the threat detection system. Because in a genuine survival situation, what matters is not subtle in the internal wisdom. What matters is fast, decisive, and a threat response. So then your body deprioritizes the quiet signals in favor of the loud ones, which means anxiety gets louder, fear gets louder, the hypervigilant scanning for danger gets louder, and the quiet, steady voice of your own intuition, which was never designed to shout, which is always communicated in felt senses and subtle knowings rather than alarms, gets completely drowned out. And then the decision fatigue sets in. Every decision your nervous system processes when it's dysregulated costs significantly more energy than it would in a regulated state, because your threat detection system is evaluating every choice through the lens of survival. Even the small ones, even the ones that objectively don't matter, even the ones that you should be able to make easily. Everything feels high stakes because your system is calibrated for high stakes, which is why you end up going round in loops, asking everyone else, researching endlessly, unable to land in an answer even when you already know something is underneath all of the noise. It's not because you're indecisive or weak-minded, and not because you're someone who just can't make decisions. You are someone whose nervous system has been so overloaded for so long that the quiet signal of your own knowing has been completely buried under the noise of survival. And the path back to self-trust is not a confidence practice. It's a regulation practice. It is slow and patient work of bringing your nervous system out of a chronic threat response so that the static begins to clear and your own voice begins to come through again. That is capacity work, and that is exactly what this season is building towards. So here's your reframe for today. Every time that you've doubted yourself, gone round in circles, asked everyone else's opinion before trusting your own, felt paralysed by a decision that should have been simple, it was not evidence that you are indecisive or weak, or fundamentally unable to trust yourself. It was evidence that your nervous system was carrying too much noise for your own signal to get through. Your intuition was never broken. Your inner voice was never wrong. The signal of you never actually went away. It just got buried underneath your body and what it was carrying. It has been waiting patiently underneath it all for the noise to quiet enough that you could finally hear it again. That quieting is what we are building week by week, episode by episode, and breath by breath. You are not someone who can't trust herself. You are someone who has been too dysregulated to hear herself clearly. And those are two completely different things. This week, I want you to introduce one simple practice before beginning to separate intuition from anxiety. When a decision comes up, big or small, before you go to research, before you ask anyone else, before you go into the loop, I want you to pause. Put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly and take 3 slow breaths. And then ask your body, not your mind, what do I actually know about this? Not what do I think, not what am I afraid of, or not what should I do. What do I actually know? And then you're going to notice what comes up. It might be very quiet. It might just be a sensation, a slight opening or a slight closing, yes, or a subtle no somewhere in your body. Don't integrate it. Don't immediately second guess it. Just notice it. Write it down before the noise comes back. You are not making decisions with this practice. You are just beginning to re-establish contact with your own signal. And that contact is everything. And come back tomorrow for the imprint episode where we're going to work with exactly this and begin the practice of hearing yourself clearly again underneath all of the noise. And before I close today, I want to speak to the woman who has been outsourcing her own knowledge for so long that she has almost forgotten that she ever had it. The one who asks everyone before she asks herself, who does the research and then does more research, who knows the answer somewhere underneath everything and still cannot let herself land in it. She has not lost her intuition. She has lost the nervous system safety that would allow her to hear it. And that safety, that regulation, that quiet, and that capacity to come back to herself is what we build inside the Sacred Shit Show membership. Not in a single episode, not in a single practice, but consistently over time in a community with women who are doing exactly the same work alongside you. For £22 a month, you can get a container where the static begins to clear, where the signal of you begins to come back through, where you start to become someone who trusts herself again, not because she decided to, but because her nervous system finally feels safe enough to let her. And that is worth so much more than £22 a month, and you know that. The link is in the show notes. Come and join us, and I will see you inside.